wanted to start a conversation. I had a lot of feedback, positive feedback for the last talk that we had about, was it a month ago? So I decided it was so positive that we do the same talk again. No, okay, I'm just kidding. But we are going to talk about something very much deriving from that. But I wanted to review what we talked about last time and ask a question. What is a virtue? Can anyone tell me what a virtue is? Yes, Darren.
It's a good habit.
It is a good habit. There you go. Candy for you. Very good. Thank you. All right. Who can tell me what a habit is? Robert.
A habit is like something that you do just like normally. That's like it's something that you get it into doing that you do it all the time.
And it becomes.
Like a habit.
It becomes.
Yes.
And it becomes what?
Like second nature?
Yes. Very good. All right. Good job. Okay. Who can tell me what? No, I mean what you, Robert. You got it almost done.
I know.
All right. You did most of the heavy work lifting on that. All right. Who can tell me what a cardinal virtue is? What is a cardinal virtue? David.
Cardinal virtues, like hinge off of other virtues.
Okay. There's a hinge of what? What hangs on them, or what is hinged on them?
All other virtues.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So all human excellence is kind of contingent or hangs on those things. Very good. Nice catch. All right.
Contingent.
Contingent, yes, get that word down. So, an individual can acquire these virtues through his own effort, under the guidance of reason and practice and perseverance that can develop these things. So this is what we talked about last time. Today, I wanted to speak to you about the virtue of prudence. Now, I want to preface this with a story. Today, I was driving to church, and Mr. Manaford's vehicle were a few students.
Oh, I saw two. I was on the bus.
Okay. And they saw me with my cell phone in my hand, and they chastised me after Mass for having my cell phone because they thought I was texting. Now,
Impressionable driver.
I wasn't texting. However, they were absolutely right that I should not have had my cell phone in my hand dictating a text to people. Why is that?
Because you could crash your car and die.
Right.
That's not okay.
Right, exactly. So it was imprudent of me to do that. It was very imprudent, and I was very remorse, and I was properly rebuked by our prudent seniors for that. So, what is prudence? Prudence is what Aristotle calls the recta ratio agibilium, which means what, Mr. Manafort?
Our students know that.
What does it mean?
Can you say it one more time?
Recta ratio agibilium.
I don't know that last word.
Did I say it correctly?
Yeah, that's
Recto
right.
means right?
Yeah.
What is
Keep
it?
going.
It's like the right reason for, I don't know the last word.
Agibilium. From
for
ago,
acting.
yeah, there you go.
So what is
Right
it?
reason of acting.
All right. Right reason applied to ability or practice. Very good. Excellent. Prudence is called the mother of virtues. Why do you think that is? Why do you think prudence is called the mother of virtues? Anybody?
Probably because like all the other virtues have to do with that one. You can't be virtuous unless you have the right way of acting. They go hand in hand, I guess.
Right. We talked about that actually in Mr. Manaford's philosophy class, right? In a certain sense, yesterday we were talking about this idea of thinking what is truth or what is virtue. You know, this idea of we have to be able to know what the good is to actually be able to do it. An intellectual habit this intellectual habit is really the critical thing that helps us to practice all other virtues. Prudence is really the measure of, what are the other cardinal virtues?
Fortitude.
Fortitude,
Justice.
justice,
Temperance.
temperance, right? So it's very interesting that prudence is knowing the good, and it helps us to inform us so that we will do the good. Okay? So it is a virtue of what power of the human person? What is it a virtue of? Is it Have you guys learned yet, like the moral virtues and natural virtues? Okay, so prudence is a virtue of the intellect, right? It is an intellectual activity, where the rest of the cardinal virtues have to do with the will, okay? So what are the other cardinal virtues again? What are they?
Fortitude.
Right? So they have to do with the acting, right? Which has to do with the will, okay? So prudence, this is why prudence is the mother of virtues. A prudent person looks at the concrete reality of a situation with a clear, honest objectivity, and references and applies the moral truths, the 10 Commandments, right, what the church teaches, and it helps us to make a moral judgment. And then it commands an action. Moreover, prudence seeks to accomplish the action in a good way, doing what is good in every good way, all right? So we need to think about prudence. There's 3 aspects of prudence that I would like for you to think about today. The first is memoria. What does that mean? What is that word?
Memory.
Memory. Okay. All right. The second one is docilitas. What is this word? Docilitas. What does that mean? Anyone? Bueller? What does it sound like in English?
Docile.
Docile. What is it to be docile?
I'm not sure.
What does docility mean? Anyone? Docility?
Kind of control, right? Not like to.
I thought docile was like quick. Maybe.
That's agile.
How about meekness? Meek?
Yeah.
Somebody who listens, somebody who is very laid back, okay? And the last one is, let's see, this one you probably never heard before, but this is all right.
Like Sagittarius.
Yes. Okay, so prudence. Prudence first, for the virtue of prudence, you have to have experience of something, right? You have to have experience of things. And this is your memory, right? And you start to put these things together, you start to learn things, you know things, and you have these memories. Okay? That's one aspect of prudence. The second one is docility. Docility is willingness to learn, willingness to listen, seeking people that may have experience that you've never had, right? And you learn from what they tell you, okay? And then, solertia, or wisdom, right, is the application of these things, so we're always looking to what is the best good, right? So an example would be this, a practical example. If you're in class and you see one of your classmates maybe cheating, right? Would it be prudent to say, cheating? Would you do that? He's cheating! Would you do that? Would it be prudent?
Cheating's bad though.
It is bad, right? But would it be prudent to start cheating? Cheater! Would that be prudent? No. What would be the prudent thing to do?
Go to the teacher afterwards.
Go to the teacher afterwards. Why?
You don't want to embarrass the kids.
Exactly. You don't want to embarrass the kid. So now you're putting all these pieces together. I think, well, the prudent thing would be, and the just thing would be to go to the teacher afterwards and let the teacher deal with it, right? So you're not disrupting the whole class and everybody's now not focused on the test anymore and looking at this poor kid who's, you know, completely humiliated, right? Yeah, exactly. So we have to apply these 3 things. You know, when we talk about memory, and this is a very important thing for us because a lot of times what we do is, and a lot of people have false memories, or they have a bit of blarney. You guys know what blarney is? Anybody Irish here? Blarney is people that tell a tall tale, a little bit of an exaggeration. I saw a bear, he was this big, right? So it's accurately applying things in a way that is true, and you want to be able to recollect things. And a lot of times, our memories are distorted by our own desires, right? We twist things, or because we have this pull to want something, right? So we might have this injustice. You know, we might want to recollect that, well, the fight that I got with my sister, it's because she hit me. Yeah, but you kicked her first, right? You forgot that you kicked her, right? Or you called her a name or something. This would be an example of memory, Memory is an important thing, right? This virtue of docility or humility, we talked about that yesterday, right? About humility is so important. Socrates is incredibly humble, and it's an important aspect of prudence. The
Mr.
last part is
Bassett,
putting it together, yes?
our patroness, Teresa of Avila, always said humility was the mother of all virtue.
Well, you know what, I will defer to,
A doctor of the church?
yeah, I think maybe. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I'm not disagreeing, I'm sure somebody said prudence was the mother of all virtue, but for Teresa of Avila and her Carmelite spirituality, she saw it as humility. So when you talk about it's an important virtue as well.
Okay, I'm walking down now. I'm aligned with you.
Prudence
No.
is the mother of the natural virtues, though.
Yes, that is true. So that's the
Would be
that is
our-
the distinction, the natural virtues and the cardinal virtues like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Prudence would be the head of those, and I wouldn't disagree with that. Humility in a certain sense precedes that idea of seeking these things out. So this is the thing, I wanted to give you an example of. So, one thing, if you see me, here's a practical example. If you see me roll this ball, where's it gonna go? I roll the ball, right? It'll go that way, right? Because you've seen it before, right? Can I have the ball back? This is a very simple example. If I throw the ball up in the air, you know it's going to land on somebody, right? So Mary Grace acted, right? She acted because she knows that ball's gonna hit this poor little girl, right? Prudence, when you think about prudence, right, you want to think about how whatever it is that you do, how is going to affect your environment, right? Everything that you do, every thought that you have, every action has a consequence, right? And it's so important that we develop prudence in school. When we're talking in class, when you're having a conversation with your parents, or you're going to confession to your pastor, or you're speaking to your spiritual director or friends, it's very important to think about how can I take this knowledge, this information, and apply it to my memories and use it to form this virtue, okay? The contrary, or the opposite of the virtue of prudence is impulsivity. What is impulsivity? You guys know what that means, right?
To do without thinking.
What is impulsive, to be impulsive?
To do without thinking.
To do without thinking, very good. Nice. All right. Inconstancy, you guys know what inconstancy is? Does anybody know what that is?
What is?
Inconstancy.
If you're inconsistent,
Okay, yeah, okay. So you say, I'm gonna do this, and then you
don't do it.
don't do it, right? That would be inconstancy. These are vices, these are things that are contrary to prudence. And negligence, or indifference. And negligence is just not thinking about the things, right? These are things that are contrary to that. And when we're young, we often are impulsive. A lot of times we can second guess ourselves or not be certain about what we want to do and commit to it. So the prudent person, once they make a decision, they act on it, right? And finally, I wanted to end by saying that for you all, seeking the good, seeking holiness, seeking perfection, it's really about your conscience. And you guys know what conscience is, right? You've talked about conscience to some degree or another. What's conscience, Emma?
It's like, how do you define it? Like your conscience is like that part inside of you that's telling you like this is right, this is wrong.
Right.
How to act.
Right. It's that internal compass, that idea of you know what the true north is, you know where the truth is. Right? It's something that always helps to guide you to act morally, to do good. Okay? And it's important for us to think about our growth as human beings, to really think about first and foremost, how are we going to be prudent? Really think about prudence. If you practice that virtue, you practice being prudent, thinking about things, you were on the first step, right, towards developing these other virtues, which again is the cornerstone of human excellence, these cardinal virtues. So, I will end with that. And one last thing, actually I'll say with one last thing. You are the average of the people that you associate with. Somebody said this to me recently, I think it's a really excellent quote. You are the average of the people that you associate with.